Hey everybody, Dr. Rob here. I got my weekly Facebook Live coming. We're going to talk about laser. I had a lot of questions in the last week. Said, hey Rob, I hear that you do laser, low-level laser therapy. What do you use it for? Which ones, etc. So you're seeing 3 different lasers, all from the same company, and I have a multitude of other ones that I use in the other rooms. I just wanted to put them in here. Big shout out to my guys at Arconia Medical. Thanks for sharing this Facebook Live. I use low-level laser. So let's define light laser. Most people say laser, and so let's initially start. There's a hot and a cold laser. What's called by the FDA as a hot laser is used for surgical cutting. Clearly that's not being done in my office. The cold laser, it's really strange in that cold laser, it's sort of a misnomer. There are different classes of laser. So class 3 and 4 usually has oscillation, vibration, and usually is heat producing. What we use here is a class 2, so therefore there is no heat, it's pure light, and we don't have to have goggles because the blink reflex can protect us. If I stood there and put the laser light in your eye, not going to do that. But we do have goggles as precautionary. Now that we spoke to that, the lasers I use have FDA clearances. The big FDA clearance that we use in the chiropractic aspect of my practice is a decreased pain and increased range of motion. So we have an FDA clearance for that, and we have other FDA clearances within the Arconia line. There's up to 14 FDA clearances within the aesthetic and pain line, really a true breakaway. Those FDA clearances are based on obviously double-blind research studies, so everybody understand that anything I use here is without question FDA cleared and used and researched and very, very valued. They're not nascent to the market. So with that being said, we talked about the classes. Let's talk about the light. So most of the lights are red. So I can turn this on right over here and you'll see red light. See the red light on my hands. So it's red. It's a 635 nanometer wavelength. It's the wavelength of visible light. The literature is extraordinarily robust on 635. It's truly been shown to be very positive in a musculoskeletal light. I mean, it's been studied in over 3,000 publications and over 200 double-blind studies. So laser is not new. If anything, it's truly been around for a while. It goes back to the 1930s. So the 635 is a key ingredient to laser overall health. It's visible light, it's where photobiostimulation occurs, it's truly where the DNA gets a positive impact. Now most people say light, you didn't touch it, it can't work. Well, we don't have to touch the skin, which is beautiful. Not having to touch the skin, really we can be about 3 inches away. Now most people say to ourselves, well, if it's light, how does it work? Well, interestingly enough, think about a baby that gets what we call neonatal jaundice. It's yellow. Bilirubin's released from the liver. Very common. Everybody knows out there, what do you do when that happens to the baby? Well, you put it in light, or you bring the light in and put it over them for thousands of years. So the light comes, they're no longer yellow, and the neonatal jaundice from the bilirubin goes away. Real simple. It shows that light pierces skin, light pierces the skull, so we know that it gets absorbed. How does it get absorbed? Well, it gets absorbed through the skin and the cell membrane. Our cell membranes are bidirectional, things going in and things going out. Bidirectional, going into the cell membrane, stimulating different cellular processes or cascades, allowing the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, to produce ATP more efficiently. ATP more efficiently. When you produce ATP more efficiently, you also have a reduction in the amount of free radicals that are released during this process. ATP production, decrease in what? Free radicals. Fabulous. Cellular. So people say, I don't feel this red laser. What's going on? You're getting a cellular process. You're healing at a cellular level. It's fascinating, that cellular level, because of the speed in which the body will respond and the speed in which people will heal from it. So again, it really goes with the emphasis of what we talk about in my book, Inside Out Health. So there's a couple of chapters there on laser. which really gets to the idea of healing from the inside out without any side effects. It's outstanding. In addition, I've used the laser in multiple fronts for multiple conditions. So for instance, we used it for sprained ankles, knee pain, hip pain, lower back. This big boy's got an FDA clearance, which we'll come back to, for heel pain and plantar fasciitis. Laser for concussion. I will break some of these down a little more detail as we go through our Facebook Live. So what I have here is I got a little quick handheld, pretty easy, about the size of the cell phone that John's got. We got 2 cell phones over there. If I went over there and measured them up, it's about the same size. So they're very versatile. You know, Dr. Oz said in 2013 when Anconia Laser was on his TV show, he said it was the no-pill pain buster. At the same time, I was on a radio show, and you know, if Dr. Oz says it, it's got to be true. I said on radio, it's the most versatile healthcare tool, most versatile healthcare modality of the 21st century. Versatile, and it works for a multitude of conditions. Versatile, and I can carry it from room to room. I take it home. Sometimes I take it with me. I put it in my suitcase, and I'm able to take it with me to seminars to work on people on different fronts. So it's extremely versatile. So it's got my Accelerate. I got my PL Touch. It's a 2-headed guy, so it has a different idea. And I got my big guy over here, my FX635. I have a base station in the other room. Did you have a question? Because you look like you wanted to get treated now in front of everybody?
Maybe.
Maybe soon. So nevertheless, so we're talking about that. In addition, they call it low-level laser because it's not a lot of power. It's milliwatts. We don't need a lot of power. We just need enough for the body to take it in. So people say to me, how does it work? What is it based on? It's based on Einstein's law of physics. Einstein's law of physics. So let's go through that a little bit, not to get too heady. We got a little nucleus, and on the outside of the nucleus, we've got an inner shell of electrons. And then the outer shell, we have some more electrons, but they're in an excited state. So when you take that excited state of electrons from outside and put it to the inside, that's a light bulb. And that's how it works. Now, Einstein's law of physics explains laser in that when we get a photon, the red light is photons, and you shoot a photon in, and you excite the inner layer of electron, and it goes to the outer layer. That's the first step of laser. That's called population inversion. Then that electron pops from the outer excited state to the next cell, and that's laser. Light amplification of stimulation of radiation, and that's how our laser works. So people say, you got how many? So when I turn this light on, it's 45 billion photons. 45 billion photons, we only need one. The example I use in my book is very simple. On a football field, and yes, somebody has too much time to have measured this, there's 18,942 mousetraps that fit on a football field, 100 yards. So those mousetraps on the football field truly depicts a cell. We put a ping pong ball in each one of these mousetraps, ready to go. It's that one photon, that one electron, if you will. John and I are on the sideline, and John goes, 45 billion. I'm going to take all 45 and throw them in there. I'm going to go, got a little bit more laser experience than you. I'm going to take the one photon and throw it in. What's going to eventually happen to all those mousetraps and ping pong balls? They're going to cascade and go off. We call that the power of one, and that's how the laser truly works. As long as we get one in, it's off to the races, it's cascading. So it's really interesting being based on Einstein's law of physics. So what do I tell my patients? Or patients, if you're listening, what's going to happen? Number one, you're going to get cellular regeneration. Cells are going to regenerate. Cells are going to regenerate via ATP. ATP. Cellular communication, how do they communicate? Well, the body's all interconnected. You've heard me say that before. They're going to communicate via the nervous system and the cell membrane system. So the big takeaways when you use a laser is you increase cellular communication, cellular regeneration, to increase oxygenation, neurotransmission, and overall healing. Also has a positive impact on inflammation. It decreases inflammation. So when we're using a laser, it really has that positive healing outcome. I mean, the things I've seen are fast. There's literature that says it's very effective for frozen shoulder, rotator cuff, carpal tunnel, increased range of motion in the cervical region and the shoulder region, lower back, FDA cleared, pain in the plantar fascia region, and heal concussion. Now, I want to take a moment because I talk about concussion so much. Concussion is fascinating in that the laser treatment, the 635, has shown to decrease inflammatory markers, cytokines, and the like. I'm not going to get again too heady, but it's really shown to have great outcome. In Israel, they have studies about as far back as 2007 that show positive impact with TBI and stroke. Not purporting any of that. I'm just saying we use it for concussion. So if you have a concussion, it's a great starting point to mix with my nutrition and chiropractic rehab. We do a lot of concussion work here. And here's one of the bigger things. I didn't bring it in with me. Violet light. Violet light, which we have in a different laser, is a 405 light. The 405 light is more bactericidal, kills bacteria. But here's what's interesting. The red light is very parasympathetic. It has a very calming effect on your system, a healing effect. The 405, the violet light, is very sympathetic. The biggest problem that we're finding out when we damage our head, and our head communicates with our gut. Remember, head to gut, gut to head, or brain to gut, gut to brain. Whatever's in your gut doesn't stay in your gut. Whenever you hit your brain, it goes throughout. The biggest thing is the transmission between your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve, cranial nerve number 10, is a parasympathetic nerve, which is a calming effect. But when it's shut down and you have a TBI, you go extraordinarily sympathetic. The violet light will stimulate the vagus nerve. Upregulating that vagus nerve allows for the communication between the brain and the gut, and will decrease the incidence of, after you have a brain injury, where you have some gut issues. 60% of people who have a concussion ultimately have gastrointestinal problems, one of which, very well known, or becoming more well known in the literature, is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So we use the vagus nerve for that. Vagus nerve protocol via the violet light. So the accelerator I use in a musculoskeletal light. I split the heads here. We call this the PL touch if I want to get two different areas at the same time. And my big guy for concussion, lower back, and plantar fasciitis is a strong suggestion. Laser has revolutionized the way that manual therapists and chiropractors and pain management people are working with people. Without question, laser is here to stay. It is the leader in modalities. I don't know if somebody would theoretically chop my hands off and I couldn't use my manual techniques and just use my laser, which I would want to use. But I can tell you this, that the things I'm seeing in my office and lecturing around the world from you docs out there is really exciting, because every day I wake up and I hear another success story. So if you don't have one, consider a laser. If you're in my local area and you have a musculoskeletal issue, concussion, shoulder injury, lower back, neck injury, lower extremity injury, ankle sprain, knee sprain, please give me a call. There's an article that we're going to be posting on Facebook. It was just in Chiropractic Economics on laser. You guys will love that. Share it. Read about it. If you have any conditions, please come see me. I know John always asks, so I'm going to do it before he asks. I'm at 311 North Street in White Plains, 914-287-6464. Please share this. Let's help me help you on this health revolution.
So doctors should all have laser, but for the patients coming in, talk about a couple of success stories just so they can understand what some of the results might be from using laser treatment.
You know, it's a great question, and thanks for bringing it up. So I just had a patient complete a 6-treatment protocol with me. Interestingly enough, within the 6-treatment protocol, they had tried a multitude of manual therapy with other practitioners, some acupuncture and the like. And I said, I think if we do a few things differently, I think if we, work with your core, change your diet a little bit, and let me laser you, every, 3 times a week for the next 2 weeks. They had a pain scale of 8. They had a decreased range of motion. They just came in for their 6th treatment, and they said they were 80% better when they were looking at what? The epidural and/or surgery. So that one truly comes to mind right away. The ankle sprain, I see people come in with these, these puddles of fluid in the area, what would look like a swollen bursitis, not bursitis in an ankle sprain, but swelling and really big, almost like a balloon. And literally before your eyes, you'll see the decrease in the swelling. maybe I will do a Facebook Live, or I'll work on somebody. I'll actually get an okay from a patient, and you'll see the increase of range of motion. I had another patient in reference to the plantar fascia, and they had failed multiple, this is my Connecticut office, they had multiple issues and multiple failed treatment, and we did the 6 treatments with the FX635 to get an outcome. What's interesting also about the laser was one thing I forgot to say before, like I'd like to add on. It not only allows tissues to heal, but it also helps nerves regenerate. It also helps with circulation. So the FX635, the studies that were done by podiatrists, because they affected what we call the dorsal pedius artery in the foot, they found out they had an increase in circulation. So that's a huge takeaway without increasing any heat. It's a big takeaway that the light laser doesn't increase heat. We don't want to always increase heat. Increasing heat increases inflammation, and sometimes too much inflammation poses an issue.
Last question. I know you do a lot of work with Erconia, and you wouldn't if you didn't think they were the best. What separates them?
Well, very simply, what separates them and what makes me feel so comfortable and standing here right now talking about the lasers that populate my office is the research. 14 out of 17 FDA clearances that are out there for low-level laser, they have. The double-blind tests, the fact that they spend so much time in research and so much time in detail, and it's a laser, it's not an LED with a laser diode. And once again, the research and the care, and it's a family-owned business. I'm not here to just sell you on Erconia. Everybody knows I work for them, and I work for them because I use it in my office and I believe in it. And everybody knows the reason I'm able to articulate it in such a, if you will, an honest way is because I truly believe it. I use it on myself. I use it on my family. I use it on my friends. I use it on my extended family, my patients. So that research and clinical outcome is what drives me to want to talk about it.
There you go. And there's an event this week in the office.
There is an event this week in the office. There's actually there's 2 events next week. My mistake. I gave you the wrong date. There's 2 events next week. You can see me Tuesday night at Velocity in Elmsford. What we're going to be talking about? Concussion. And Wednesday night in my office at 311 North Street. The concussion one, I'm sorry, in Elmsford on next Tuesday night, which is going to be the 29th. Let's hope. 28th. The 28th. Is at 7 o'clock. We'll be talking about how to avoid concussion. And the 29th, which will be in this office here, we're going to talk about blood sugar dysregulation and how to avoid diabetes. And everybody should come to that. Don't forget, always yours in health, Dr. Rob.